Thank you again for joining us for the 2011 Clean Energy Outlook. It's a post-election analysis today. We've brought together a distinguished panel for you to share their insights and perspective on the recent election's potential impact on clean energy and energy efficiency policies and programs locally here in Clark County, statewide in Nevada, and on the federal and national level as well. Before I introduce our panelists, I'd like to invite Scott Rutledge, the Executive Director of the Nevada Conservation League, to come up and give you all an overview of what the League is all about. So thank you again. Scott?
Basically what we do is this. We help elect pro-conservation, pro-environment legislators to the state legislature. We also endorse in the governor's race. And probably in the future we'll be looking at some local races as well. Then we work to get them elected after we do the endorsement process, work on lobbying them at the legislature. Then we do what we call our conservation scorecard, which is an objective accounting of what happened at the legislature. Kyle serves as our lobbyist, lets them know, these legislators, before every vote, how we would like them to vote, which is considered pro-conservation, which would be considered the anti-conservation vote. We work with 17 groups statewide to determine which bills we want to include. We also work with them to create a proactive conservation agenda at the legislature. Part of our work that we do with the 501c3 is we have a civic engagement program where we believe that if we could talk to voters about some of these issues and let them know that they're issues that they should be considering when they go to vote, then obviously that benefits the policies we'd like to see enacted. So we did a program with the Clean Energy Project, and Lauren Boytel is here from the Clean Energy Project. She's sitting in the back. She welcomed a lot of you when you walked in. And we contacted 84,000 households with 4 of these oversized mail pieces, and I believe we brought some of these as well. You can take a look at those on out the door, explaining to Nevadans what a green job was by actually going out and finding people with green jobs in our community. We took their photos, we got a little bit of a blurb, a story about how they came to this green job, and we explained it to the voters in a completely nonpartisan, non-political way. This is what a green job is. And again, that's 84,000 households in Clark and Washoe County. It's the largest project of this scale we've ever undertaken. And very grateful for the Clean Energy Project for partnering on that with us.
Commissioner Rory Reed. And next, Rose McKinney-James, who's the founding principal of Energy Works Consulting and a champion. And lastly, it's my pleasure to introduce Kyle Davis, the political director for Nevada Conservation League. And if you all, because we're not mic'd, if you have any difficulty hearing, please let us know and we'll try to speak up a little louder. All right, so we'll get started. And Kyle, I want to start with you. If you could just give us an overview of the election results on the state level in terms of the Assembly and the Senate, and how what might be different this go around than from the legislative session 2 years ago that's going to start here.
Okay. As many of you probably know, this was the first election that term limits actually took effect here in our state. We passed that on the ballot back in the 90s, and it finally took effect. And the result of that is we had a lot of experienced legislators that were turned out of office. So the biggest difference you're going to see in the 2011 Nevada legislature is there's going to be a lot of new faces. And much more so on the Assembly side than the Senate. The Senate, there are new senators, but a lot of them were originally, were in the Assembly before they moved up to the Senate. So not as much there in terms of new faces, although they are new to the Senate. In the big picture, going into the 2011 session, Democrats will hold a majority in both houses. They lost 1 seat in the state Senate and 2 seats in the state Assembly, so we have an 11-10 Democratic majority in the Senate and a 26-16 Democratic majority in the Assembly. So in terms of the big picture, the numbers are a little bit different from the last session, but a lot of the dynamics are still somewhat the same. We also do have new leadership in 3 out of 4 of the caucuses. We have a new speaker, we have a new minority leader on both sides, and the only leader that's returning from the last session is the majority leader in the state Senate seat, Steve Horsford.
And for the benefit of our audience, will you just give us who the names of those folks
Yeah,
are,
absolutely.
please?
Yeah, the new speaker will be John Oseguera. He was majority leader last session, and he's here in Las Vegas. The minority leader in the assembly is Pete Gokachia, who's from Eureka. And on the Senate side, the majority leader, as I said, is Stephen Horsford from Las Vegas. The minority leader is Senator Mike McGinnis. He is from Fallon.
Thank you. What barriers exist at the state level that could or will prevent Nevada from fully developing our clean energy resources?
That's her name.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, the state level, we've done a pretty good job here in Nevada of passing policy that promotes renewable energy, and as a result, we're one of the leaders in the country in terms of promotion of renewable energy through our policies. That being said, there's still some areas where we can improve, where we can make it better. The first thing that comes to mind is that we can do a better job of, I guess, streamlining and making a process that's more simple, more open for distributed generation. And for people that don't know, that's the energy that you see on rooftops. That's the stuff that is developed right there on the customer side of the meter. So there, we can certainly do more to make that process more transparent and allow for more people to be a part of that. In terms of large-scale energy, a lot of that is on the federal level. Some of what we may be able to do at the state level is solve some of the transmission problems. Obviously, when you're building renewable energy that's far from the source where it's going to be consumed, you got to get that energy there somewhere. And in a lot of cases, that energy, the best spots for that energy doesn't necessarily have transmission right now. So if we can find a way to build that transmission, that will help tremendously in making that happen. Those are the two things off the top of my head, but I would welcome other thoughts.
Rose, did you want to add anything to those earlier questions, either regarding the election results and or what some of the barriers are at the state level to energy development? Renewable energy, I should say.
I think Kyle covered the most significant issues. We do have a good framework in place. We've made some inroads around transmission, which is our ability to get the energy from one place to the next. And we've also made some inroads in terms of our relationships with federal agencies, in particular the Department of the Interior, toward addressing some of the land use challenges that we've had in the past. So we've made some progress, but I think we have a huge hurdle to overcome with respect to the sheer number of new people who will now be in policymaking roles.